Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Planetside 2 content. Today guys, we're going to be continuing our lineup of class guides for Planetside 2 by taking a look at the Infiltrator class, the stealthiest class of the bunch that sports the means to be deadly at all ranges. This class, much like the Light Assault, is a class of mischief, tomfoolery, and has the capability to be a thorn in the enemy's backside when played right. They also have a key responsibility on the battlefield of providing intelligence for their squad, making them extremely powerful support players in the right situations as well. Now, for those who are new to the channel and our class guides overall, we're going to start off with a class overview, followed by a quick summary of all the separate components and equipment available to the Infiltrator on Auraxis. Then we'll go over some rapid fire tips and tricks, wrapping things up nicely by going over some of the builds that I have adopted for my Infiltrator class and why I recommend them for other players. For those who are looking for similar content on the Combat Medic, Engineer, Light Assault and Heavy Assault, you can find those linked in the description down below, as well as a card on the top right hand side of your screen now. Anyway, without further ado, we've got a lot to get through, so let's start having a chat about the cheeky boy of Auraxis and what it can do. The Infiltrator, as the name suggests, is the sneakiest of classes to have graced Auraxis, and that comes thanks to one component on the class, its ability. The Infiltrator has the ability to cloak on the battlefield and remain cloaked for a short period of time. This cloak, while it doesn't make the user completely invisible, allows the user to cross open fields and navigate around urban environments while being harder to detect. A trained eye will be able to spot a cloaked Infiltrator, but with the overall chaos that envelops Auraxis a lot of the time, they can be quite difficult to track, and well-versed Infiltrators will make use of the chaotic scenes to move to better positions undetected. These soldiers are also equipped with long-range sniper rifles as well as SMGs, which allow them to precisely take out targets only to disappear almost immediately after, making them some of the most feared soldiers on the battlefield as well. These soldiers are not just elite killers and assassins, however, they also carry the key supportive ability of being able to provide intelligence to allies about enemy positions, which can be honestly the difference between a flank catching your squad off guard and you being well prepared for it and capturing that critical base. In addition, the class also has the unique ability to hack base turrets, enemy terminals, as well as player-placed Spitfire turrets, which under the right circumstances can be a true asset to your faction. However, these abilities do come at a cost, that being the Infiltrator's weaker shield capacity, making them weaker combatants in straight-up engagements by comparison to all other classes in the game. As a result, the Infiltrator can be a deadly asset to any squad and is a class that should never be overlooked. Just remember that flanking and getting creative with your methods while using this class is key. 1v1 engagements are not the way to go about it. Anyway, with that said, let's dive into the class in a little bit more detail and see what it has to offer. Once again, we're going to start off things here with the Infiltrator's ability slot, as that is the true party piece that sets it above the rest in its own way, the cloaking device. Now, before we go over the cloaking device variants, I want to quickly address some of the overall mechanics that govern all the cloaking devices in the game right now. Firstly, the cloaking duration is not affected by movement. Now, this was something that I actually thought affected cloak duration uptime, but upon some further testing, when you cloak and move, it does not reduce the duration of how long your cloak will last. The only exception to this rule revolves around the Stalker cloaking, but we'll discuss that a bit more shortly. Secondly, cloaking will never make you fully invisible. Your movement, speed, and stance will determine how effective the cloaking is. If you move in sprint, your cloak is going to shimmer and make you fairly noticeable. So despite being cloaked, you can't run in front of enemies and get away with it. You will still need to move smartly to get to the flanks you want to exploit. If you sit still and crouch, you will be much harder to see, but still not entirely invisible. Just keep that in mind. Thirdly, you cannot capture control points, fire your weapon, swing your knife, or hack enemy base encampments while you're cloaked. You also will not be able to recharge your shields while you're cloaked. So if your shields go down and you need to recharge them, you're going to have to find a safe place to come out of cloak and let the recharge take effect. And one final note to add on to that, the dark light flashlight will illuminate you if you are cloaked and hit with it. And yes, this includes friendly flashlights. Keep that in mind. If you stick around one spot for too long, enemy players will start getting flashlights out and look for you. Anyway, the cloaking ability comes in 3 flavors, each with their own styles, benefits, and downsides respectively. We'll start off with the standard issue cloaking device available to new recruits, the Hunter cloaking device. This cloak is as simple as they come. You activate the ability, and you will begin to personally cloak. You can maintain this cloak as long as you have the energy available to use it. Now, no matter how much you upgrade the cloak, it will last up to 12 seconds without being disabled from full charge, with each upgrade reducing the default charge time from 12 seconds to 7 seconds when fully ranked up, which makes the cloak a lot more efficient overall. The next cloaking device we have here is the Nano Armor cloaking, which is all about turning the Infiltrator into a slightly tankier class, all the while maintaining the core aspect of the class. Here you gain a 25% resistance to small arms fire while cloaked, and you also passively, in all states, gain an additional 100 HP to your shields, bringing you up to the more standard HP pool of 1000. Now, the cost of this extra tankiness, if you will, is the less efficient cloak uptime and recharge rate. The base rank of the Nano Armor Cloak sees you with a 6.5 second cloaking uptime with a corresponding 13-second recharge time. It's not the best option in the world when at base rank, but with every upgrade, you do improve the cloak time and the recharge rate by 0.5 seconds at each rank, which actually turns it into a fairly competitive option by max rank. Max rank also grants you an additional 10% of small arms resistance, taking the total to 35%. It's a great option for the craftier player who still wants to play very aggressively, which we'll get into more conversation about later when it comes to the loadouts. Okay. Last but not least is the Stalker Cloaking Suite. Now, this here is a completely different kettle of fish, something for the kind of player that is as cunning as they are daring. The Cloaking Suite is unique in the sense that while you are stationary and in cloak, the device will actually recharge itself. This means that you can effectively remain cloaked indefinitely. What's the catch? It's the fact that while you have this cloak equipped at all on a loadout, your primary weapon slot is disabled. You cannot take a primary weapon. You will only be able to take a secondary on the field and your knife. Now, this limits us quite a bit as to what we can and can't do, especially now that cloaked infiltrators can't capture points. So what is the point of this loadout? Well, it's quite honestly just fun to mess around with people, and that's what this build is really all about. There are stories of people using Stalker Cloaks to walk themselves sneakily into an enemy point hold and then go on berserk knifing sprees. So yeah, it can be extremely rewarding, but requires some large cojones to use effectively. Each upgrade improves the cloak maximum uptime and its recharge rate while cloaked and stationary. Next up, we're going to move on to the tool slot. The Infiltrator's tool slot comes in 2 forms that are entirely dedicated to accomplishing the recon side of the Infiltrator. The Recon Detect device or the Motion Spotter. The Recon Detect device is the default option available, so we'll start there essentially. This device allows you to fire darts that stick to surfaces and will pulse every 3.25 seconds to reveal the location of moving enemies for a 20-second duration. This device can be resupplied via Engineer Ammo Pack, and the darts can also be destroyed by direct small arms fire and EMP grenades. You can fire as many of these darts as you want, so as long as you have the ammo to do so, so you can really paint an area in Recon if you want to. Each rank improves the pulsing rate, the range of the pulse, as well as the lifespan of the Recon Detect darts, and in addition, from rank 4, you begin to gain more rounds in your ammo pool. The next option for the tool slot comes in the form of the Motion Spotter, a small deployable that can be placed at the Infiltrator's feet for a different kind of recon. This device will pulse every 1.5 seconds and reveal moving enemy positions within 30 meters to all allies on the minimap. However, as an added benefit, the Infiltrator who places the device will also receive unique live movement updates from the device about infantry who are within 20 meters. Picture an advanced UAV kill streak from Modern Warfare, and then that's the kind of map readout you're going to get from enemies who are close enough. Crouched enemies, however, will remain undetected by this device, so keep that in mind for the sneakier player. Each upgrade improves the range of the pulse detection and the capacity of how many the Infiltrator can carry at a time. Beyond rank 2, the duration of the device is also improved. As far as the suit slot is concerned, the Infiltrator has access to the standard selection of upgrades including advanced shield capacitor, ammunition belt, flak armor, grenade bandolier, and nano nanowave armor, but it also has access to the chameleon module and the adrenaline pump. The chameleon module is actually available by default, and it takes the shimmer effect that is accented when damaged away entirely, allowing for stealthier playstyles. And in addition to that, if you lose your shields, 20% of the cloak energy will be instantly restored to your pool. This is a great entry-level upgrade for learning the Infiltrator class, but most veterans will find themselves operating with the ammunition belt, advanced shield capacitor, adrenaline pump, or even nanowave armor as their loadouts continue to evolve. Grenades-wise, the Infiltrator has access to one of the most powerful grenades on the battlefield, and also one of the arguably least powerful grenades on the battlefield. We'll start off with the bad news. We have the decoy grenade here. These decoy grenades will simulate false weapon fire and create fake radar signatures in an attempt to distract enemies' attention during a fight. Now, they will also fool automated anti-infantry turrets, which I will admit is relatively powerful in the current Spitfire turret apocalypse, but with Spitfire turrets being removed from the tactical slot, I feel as though the relevancy of this grenade will begin to dip soon again. But no, the real party piece here of the grenade slot is the EMP grenades. These grenades will affect all targets within 15 meters in the possible ways. Infantry will have a static filter applied to their HUD, and their personal shields will be stripped completely. Spitfire turrets will be disabled temporarily, and all engineer mana turrets will be instantly overheated. Most explosives and deployables like spawn beacons, shield recharging fields, and motion spotters will be instantly destroyed, and explosives will dish out their normal payload in damage. So yeah, as you can imagine, the possibilities for chaos here are unbelievable, and there's no denying the fun that can be had with them. It's quite honestly one of the most powerful breaching grenades in the game right now, and I've credited many of our successful point holds or point breaches to the use of these grenades. Lastly, we have our utility slot. We have access to your normal restoration / medkits and the auxiliary shield, but we also get access to Empire-specific anti-personnel mines, which can be means for total shenanigans on this class when played right. More on that in the loadout section though. Okay, so those are the pieces to the puzzle when it comes to the Infiltrator class, and yeah, look, I'm sure the gameplay is showing just how much of a cheeky boy you can be with this class. There's no denying just how powerful it can be in the right hands. But it must be asked, what are the tips and the tricks of the trade for making this happen? Let's go over that nice and fast here. We've got a couple of different playstyles to consider, so bear with me guys. Tip number 1. Okay, so normally I don't like to recommend buying weapons out of the gate, but for TR and VS players, if you want to get your sniping game on, you're gonna have to make an early investment of 325 certs to unlock the standard bolt-action sniper rifles, the M77B for the TR and the XM98 for the VS respectively. NC players, you will have a bolt-action rifle out of the gate, which is very, very lucky, but for TR and VS, I don't know why this is the case, but unfortunately, you guys do not get a bolt-action rifle to start things off. Tip number 2 is something that I was going to include from the get-go, but the Rogue Wolf makes it very clear in his comment as well. Whenever you're sniping, move after every kill. Now, I don't mean you need to reposition entirely after a kill, but don't uncloak, shoot, recloak, and then sit in the exact same spot. Enemy snipers will be able to train in on you quickly, even if you are cloaked, if you don't add a little bit of movement to your sniping adventures. As the Rogue Wolf said, a bullet doesn't care if it can't see you, it will still do the damage if it hits. Tip number 3. In saying that, know when you've overstayed your welcome. Yes, you may have found that awesome sniping spot that you don't want to ever leave, but every player you kill will see you in a kill cam. Kill enough players and they're going to want you dead fairly quickly. After a couple of kills, make sure you at least reposition somewhat. Tip number 4, use your recon devices. Austin Camp makes it very clear that these are the class's primary roles when it comes to actually supporting your faction, and it can also make you a pretty penny in the cert department too. Spam recon darts and place your motion spotter in spots that help the faction. Don't just be entirely dedicated to sniping. The recon device can be shot a far distance, trust me, I know. Even if you're sitting back and sniping, you can still support your faction with intelligence. Tip number 5. Yes, cloaking makes you harder to see. Enemies can still hear you though if you spot, cloak, and decloak, which will give away your position. If you're hiding or working on sneaking up on an enemy position, refrain from spotting. I cannot make this more clear. This was something that a lot of people made clear when I requested tips and tricks from the community, and I couldn't agree more. Tip number 6, and I cannot emphasize this enough, remember that you are statistically the weakest class in the game from a HP perspective. 9 out of 10 loadouts you even run on this class are going to leave you with less HP than everyone else on the battlefield. My point here is that you must be flanking. Always look out for a flank and do your best to never take a fight head on, with heavy assaults in particular. In fact, if you see a heavy assault, you need to make sure you get a fairly decent leg up on him, even if you do have the flank to win the battle. Tip number 7, when you're getting into the thick of it with an SMG Infiltrator build, you're gonna attract some attention, and therefore you're gonna have some people try and pursue you to avenge their fallen comrades that you just cut down. When cloaked, make sure you're changing directions frequently to keep enemies guessing. By running in a straight line, enemies are going to be able to easily predict your movement and still gun you down while you're cloaked. Tip number 8, learn base and building layouts and use that to plan your attacks. Light assaults have the luxury of being able to just simply climb their way out of situations. That is not the case here. Your ability to use cover, buildings, and the general layout of the environment around you is key to being as cheeky as possible and to break line of sight on pursuers. Take this into account for the best results. Tip number 9, when operating with a squad, don't feel anchored down. Your role is to recon the place, disrupt enemy flanks, kill enemy spawn beacons with EMP grenades, and just be a general nuisance. A good infiltrator in a squad will do their best work with a bit of free reign. This is mainly a tip for infiltrators in squads, but also squad leaders who are trying to coordinate infiltrator attacks. Tip number 10, and considering we just mentioned EMP grenades, I'm gonna get straight down to the point here. Buy them as fast as you can. There is no denying at all just how key these things are and how much of a power play they can be in the right circumstances. I have never used decoy grenades, and frag grenades have long been absent from all of my infiltrator loadouts. They are a must-have. And tip number 11, be patient. This is one of the most difficult classes to excel at. You need to be patient when you're learning. I know I've said this over and over again, but you cannot charge in head first expecting everything to be alright. You need to be crafty, you need to go in with a plan, and you need to know exactly when you're beat and also when it's time to try something new. Try not to get frustrated when using and learning this class. It's going to help you out a lot in the long run. Okay, so those right there are some fundamental tips and tricks to using the Infiltrator class. Now, there's only so much I can fit in one video, so as per always, guys, if you feel like I've missed something down below, please let me know in the comments, add them to the comment section, and yeah, be sure to share your insight with your fellow Auraxians. It does go a long way. But let's go ahead and get into the builds of the Infiltrator class that I adopt. What do I use, how do I use them, and how can you adopt them for your playstyle? And for our first loadout here, I want to start out with the obvious one, the sniper loadout. This is your long-range sniping loadout, which is what a lot of players like to operate with, so we're going to start off with that one here. I've got my EM4 Longshot, Parallax VX3, or Rams 50M for each faction respectively. These are the sniper rifles that feature the best-in-class muzzle velocity, which is quite honestly a godsend for real long-range sniping in this game. We've also got a recon tech device equipped because, quite frankly, if you're going to be sitting this far back from God knows how many meters away, the least you can do to support your team is provide them some intelligence recon by firing darts into a base that you're sniping into. The choice of hunter cloaking is very much all about maximizing your cloak uptime so that you can catch enemy infiltrators off guard. Having the ability to cloak longer and have a faster recharge is paramount when you're sniping and in sniper duels with other infiltrators, so much to the point where I really wouldn't consider taking nano armor cloaking on a long-range sniper build. And as you can see, we've also got med kits and the ammunition belt here just to allow for a little bit more independence when using this loadout. You're not going to be that reliant on combat medics and engineer ammo packs if you run out of ammo or take damage respectively. Now, as far as my implants are concerned, you're going to see an interesting choice here in a singlet. Now, there's a reason for this. The reason I run a singlet is if I have got it maxed out and I score a headshot kill, like you're meant to with these bolt-action sniper rifles, it's going to give you some cloaking energy back, which is going to be critical when you're in those really, really down-to-the-wire 1v1 sniper duels with other infiltrators. Infiltrators. In addition to that, you're also going to see me either running Critical Chain or Battle Hardened. Now, if you are someone who can land headshots left, right, and center with no interruption, Critical Chain can be a lot of fun, but Battle Hardened is also really great at eliminating any sort of screen shake that can come your way as well. So either or of these implants are awesome picks. Now, if you want to run a more CQC sniper orientated build here, trade out the primary weapons for the SASR, the TSAR 42, or the Ghost respectively for each faction, and then trade the Critical Chain / Battle Hardened slot for Cat-like / Battle Hardened, once again depending on whether or not you want to double down on mobility or reduce impending screen shake. Okay, the next two loadouts we're going to go over are my SMG Infiltrator loadouts. These are your close quarters, rough and tough, get in there and support your squad kind of deal. So I've got either my Saboteur loadout or my beefy Infiltrator loadout. The Saboteur takes on board high capacity fast firing SMGs, but you really can trade out SMGs to suit your liking however you like. With a hunter cloaking device, so standard hunter cloaking once again with the recon detect device, which again allows you to really paste an area in recon darts, especially if you're nearby an engineer ammo pack. But for me, the key elements of this loadout are the adrenaline pump, cat-like, and sensor shield. There's a reason for this. It's a highly mobile loadout. It's designed to abuse the hell out of cat-like 5 and adrenaline pump to use its added mobility to get to locations and utilize flanks that it really shouldn't be able to normally do. And when you combine Sensor Shield with a suppressor on your primary weapon, you're going to be near undetectable when you're scoring these flanks. So this is very much a loadout that's designed to see a flank and really exploit it and just remain as stealthy as possible for as long as possible. If you get spotted with this loadout, you need to run, cut bait, and wait for things to calm down for a few minutes. But let's just say you're not about that life. Let's just assume that you want to get an SMG, grab your Infiltrator, get in there and get down and dirty and just get into a big old scruff with most of the other players on the map. Let's get into the beefy Infiltrator. And there's one critical difference here that a lot of people will notice out of the gate, and that is the use of nano armor cloaking. There's a lot of people in the community here that swear by the use of this cloak, and I know that they were waiting for me to put it into a loadout here. This cloak is all about sacrificing some of that cloak up time for the ability to get in there and go toe-to-toe with more people. Its passive 100 HP point increase does give you that little bit more flexibility to engage toe-to-toe with more players. It doesn't sound like a lot of HP, but it can be the difference between a win and a loss in some firefights. And if you do find yourself taking too much fire and you need to escape, the 35% reduction to damage at max rank is absolutely critical. When you pair that with Survivalists and the ability to move a lot faster, and Cat-like, which allows you to climb areas and just move into positions that you wouldn't normally be able to do so, it really gives this class the ability to not only get into the thick of it and survive more firefights, but it also gives it the ability to get out of dodge faster and safer, and you have more flexibility to overextend yourself. Now, I'm not saying that you should overextend yourself all the time with this loadout, you just got that little bit more room to breathe if need be. On top of that, we're running a grenade bandolier with the EMP grenades, which just means that if you do find a flank that you can exploit with this class, you can just start tossing EMP grenades in left, right, and center, disorientate the hell out of enemies, and go to town like nobody's business. Okay, so I've introduced you guys to my go-to loadouts, my SMG loadouts and my sniper loadouts. Those are my real go-to Infiltrator loadouts for 99% of the time I'm playing the class. But say I want to meme about a bit and have a bit of a stupid time with the class and its abilities. Let me introduce you to my Vampire loadout. Spoiler alert, it does revolve around a particular implant. As you guys can see, no primary weapon here because we are running Stalker Cloaking. This is a very stealthy build. It's designed to get in tight into enemy positions without them noticing and then do the damage that it needs to do. I'm running the Carver, the Ripper, and the Lamine Edge as my go-to primary weapons. For those who do not know, these are the activatable one-hit kill knives available to each of your factions. And you could probably guess where the rest of this loadout is going now when we introduce things like Adrenaline Pump, Carapace, and Vampire as implants. It's plain simple. This is my balls to the wall knifing loadout that is designed to just simply get into an enemy position without them knowing and just go on absolute murder knifing sprees. Every time you score a kill with your knife, Vampire will bring you back some HP that you lost to your total HP pool of 1,000 thanks to Carapace, which actually makes you a relatively tanky class if you can continue knifing opponents. And because you're using Carapace, you can throw an EMP grenade in there, run in after after it and not suffer any actual HP damage because you've got no shields that are going to deactivate off your EMP. Now, I do have medkits listed here, but I will also say that if you want to get a little explosive and a little chaotic, you can switch out for anti-personnel mines for a bit of fun here as well. I just like having medkits in case I struggle to get a knife kill and I need a little bit of extra HP pump back into the class as I go and reevaluate the situation. And with that all said right there, those are my loadout suggestions for the Infiltrator class, and with all that said, that concludes today's Infiltrator class guide. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to backhand the like button, and if you are new to the channel, consider backhanding the subscribe button whilst you're at it to keep up to date with all things that I release in the future. We've got some exciting content on the way, and I cannot wait to share that with you guys as the weeks go by. As always, guys, you can find my relevant social media profiles and links in the description down below, as well as my YouTube join memberships button. Please feel free to use that, guys, if you want to support the channel further as well. But as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.